In contrast, Joe Biden's entire career has been a gift to the Chinese Communist Party and to the calamity of errors that they've made. They made so many errors. China would own our country if Joe Biden got elected.
Ted, could you give us one way Joe Biden would be, let's say, tougher on China than Trump, or vice versa?
The way he'd be tougher on China is he'd figure out how to cooperate with U.S. allies. The weakest part of the Trump campaign against China has been we've alienated all our allies. We're in a trade war with Europe. We've just put new tariffs on aluminum with Canada. There's been ongoing tensions with Mexico. And the president pulled out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which was an alliance of Asian trading partners that would have been kind of a counterweight to China. I think Biden wants to work much more closely with allies. So you'll have a kind of carrot approach as well as a stick approach that Biden will be working to line up other allies as kind of alternatives and counterweights to China. That's the biggest difference, I think, between the two of them on trade.
But Ted, is there a feeling that Trump is just tougher on China, can't be pushed around in a way that perhaps some perceive Biden might?
I mean, a lot of Trump's toughness is posturing of one sort or another. I mean, he will slap tariffs and then he'll back down. He'll threaten sanctions and then back down. So it's not at all clear that the toughness is really played through in terms of the action.
Do you think the tariffs that Trump has imposed would go away if Biden became president? And if they did, what would replace them as a cudgel, if you will, against China?
Yeah. I think you've cut straight to the heart of it there. I don't expect that they would go away immediately. I do expect that they would eventually go away. And, from Biden's perspective, he's sort of handcuffed on day one of his presidency if he wins, because to simply remove the tariffs would give China a major win, essentially without giving anything in return. And I think no U.S. leader is going to do that, whether they agree with the policy or not, which I don't believe that Biden does agree with the policy. In general, I expect him to focus on the bilateral trade balance a lot less than Trump, and to hopefully view the U.S.-China relationship more holistically, more expansively. What that means is that he would remove the tariffs probably as part of a larger deal with China, something probably akin to how Trump administration casts phase 2. And the tariffs will still be his cudgel and his interest.
Manufacturing has gone in recession. Agriculture lost billions of dollars that taxpayers had to pay. We're going after China in the wrong way. China is stealing intellectual property. China is conditioning being able to do business in China and based on whether or not you have 51% Chinese ownership. That's got to end. I've spent a fair amount of time when I was vice president with President Xi because the president wanted me to get to know him. He's no Democrat with a small d at all. But here's the deal. I made it real clear.
So if you scrap those tariffs, what do you want in return? Or are you just going to scrap them without any concessions?
No, here's the deal. The question is, what is the appropriate behavior that they have to engage in international trade with us? And they have to play by the international rules. And what we have done is we have disarmed ourselves. We make up 25% of the world's economy, but we poked our finger in the eye of all of our allies out there.
Regardless of who wins in the US elections, China will be one of America's biggest foreign policy challenges going forward. How would a Biden presidency take this on?
There'll be a return to somewhat more conventional policy making. Not that he'll necessarily take a softer line when it comes to China. I think that the old era of engagement is dead and gone. And at the same time, though, his personal style, his approach to the world is quite different than that of President Trump. I believe then that he would turn first to trying to strengthen America, to bring America out of the devastation that's been caused, putting America back onto the right footing, and at the same time externally reaching back out to allies that have been kind of a foundation of American foreign policy, really going back to the end of World War II, and developing a coalition to work together to further American interests, not so much in the direction of creating conflict with China, but to put China on notice that there are certain core interests that America has both at home and abroad.
When Biden was vice president, he met Xi Jinping a couple of times. You know, they dined in private on many occasions. If Biden becomes president, how do you see this relationship going forward?
There has been a discussion about this series of meetings which took place between Biden and Xi Jinping when he was still vice president. And there's a lot of speculation about whether that might frame the relationship moving forward. The more I think about it, though, it's important to realize that Biden on China will be boxed in a lot of ways by changes in American domestic politics. Whatever coalition had existed that favored engagement with China has really evaporated under a host of different variables and factors. And so I think that Biden will approach the relationship in a more professional manner than the current administration. There'll be less emotion, certainly less tweeting, more consultation with experts, more dependence on the State Department. I think the personal relationship, in truth, will probably fall out of the dynamic between the two countries. And that probably will be productive just in terms of creating more regularity and normality in the relationship. If not more cooperation, then more predictability. And that, I think, is promising both for American interest and frankly, I think for China as well. In truth, if China is looking to change the world, then the continued ruination of America under a second term of President Trump might very well serve those interests quite well.
Sounds like a continuation of dialogue is needed through times like these.